Following total atomic annihilation, the rebuilding of this great nation of ours may fall to you. That's why we here at Vault Boys WV will take you on an oral tour of the beautiful state of West Virginia. There's no other place to be better prepared for the impending fallout. Now we go live to our team of experts.
Hello and welcome to yet another week with Vault Boys WV, a mutated podcast crossbreeding our shared history in Appalachia with a post-apocalyptic state in Fallout 76. I am your country road scholar, Dave Chaffins, and joining me as a special guest, the Vault Boy photographer, Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
So, Greg, you are a West Virginia native, correct?
Yes.
So you actually grew up here, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So we've kind of had a back and forth a little bit on Twitter. You've been running this Twitter account. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when the game was first announced, I was following it very heavily. I watched it on E3 and saw the trailer, saw the locations, and had already done photography in the past, but had never really done a specific project of any kind. Mm. So I decided it would be really cool, since I already had a Vault Boy bobblehead, to take him around and take his picture around the state, especially locations that I saw in the trailer that I knew would be in the game. Mm-hmm. So I started taking him around. I created him a Twitter and an Instagram. And the Twitter is kind of a personification. It's like he's the one talking, not me. I get referred to as the human.
The human.
The human.
Well, I like that because normally Vault Boy doesn't talk. And so now Vault Boy has a voice.
He has a voice.
He has a voice.
So started going places, started taking road trips. Ended up being a lot of fun because not only was I doing this photo project, but, you know, I got to go visit all these places. Some places I had already been, some places I had never been before. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the places that you had never been before?
Until this started, I had never been to Helvetia. Mm-hmm. My first trip to Helvetia was with him. Mm-hmm. I had never been to the Moundsville State Penitentiary.
That's up there.
And I was wanting to go on like a mini vacation anyway, so I'd already thought about going to Wheeling. Mm-hmm. While I was up there, I decided to go to the Palace of Gold and take his picture. Little did I know that would be in the game.
Yeah, that's it. I'm really surprised because people were thinking that it was some like Catholic church in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. That it was kind of cool to see that was a thing that they added in there. But I guess that makes sense. That's a pretty big landmark.
It is, and it's amazing. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like it, but they kept the architecture and the design to where if you've ever been to the real one, as soon as you see it in game, you know exactly what it is. So those are a few places I had never. I had stopped at Summersville, been by Summersville Lake, but never really went to it. So I took him to Summersville Lake because I assumed that was in the game.
Yeah, I've never been on Summersville Lake. I've always like driven past it and obviously like hiked around it, but never actually like stopped to like get near the water's edge near Summersville Lake. I do like a lot of the rock formations and stuff that they have around there. Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like it's a sea. It's very interesting. You could take pictures from a certain angle, and I don't know if people would be able to tell it was a lake if you use a little trickery with your camera angle. But it's very pretty.
So you have been going around. You've been taking these photographs of Vault Boy. That it's like you have all of the pictures. It's like whenever I see people posting pictures of Vault Boy in West Virginia locations, the majority of them are pictures that you've taken, or are you literally just posting these pictures. And it's kind of cool to see that imagery against like the real life stuff and have that like, you know, that real world aspect to it. I think even people, one thing that I've noticed is even in some of the photos that I've just taken of myself doing West Virginia things, is there's a big audience, like a Japanese audience.
Yes.
From like Twitter handles and stuff. And they may not be Japanese, but it's all in Japanese characters that they're typing out or liking it or retweeting it or something, which I'm kind of amazed with.
I've come across, I've interacted with quite a few people from out of the country, some Chinese, some Japanese, some South American. I've interacted with more people than I think follow me. A lot of people see my pictures but don't follow me. Just my pictures come up on their feed and they see them.
Yeah.
Because of the tags or because somebody else liked it.
Yep.
But so I've had more interaction, I think, than I actually have followers. But I've interacted with quite a few people. I did have to explain to one person though that the new River Gorge Bridge was not at Flatwoods.
Yes, that is the placement of some things doesn't make a lot of sense for where it is actually, and what it goes over. There's no real reason for it to go over anything because like there's the Summersville Lake obviously there, and then the new river that goes under it. And I don't think the new river is actually in the game. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's actually anything new river.
It's my theory that it's the Tigert River because it comes out of the Grafton Dam, flows past the Tigert water treatment plant, and then but the Tigert actually goes north. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I get why they laid it out like they did. They did it in a way that was convenient for them to tell the story and to make the game. Mm-hmm. Some things are like Charleston's relatively reasonably placed.
Yeah, the layout of that is kind of somewhat impressive, and it's like the way that they have you traveling Charleston is the most likely ways that you personally in your vehicle would travel through Charleston in like cardinal directions in the streets that you're on and how it's all laid out, which is kind of cool. Well,
and how many people going from the north to Charleston go through Flatwoods?
That's true. You pass right by it. I've been meaning to do like a three stopper up there where I hit up Flatwoods to go to because they have the Flatwoods Monster Museum, which I want to go in because that looks even more like very particular to that thing. And then hit up Helvetia since it's like probably like an hour outside of Flatwoods, and then hit up Weston and go to the Asylum. I want to do like a day trip that's like the three of those in tandem.
I've seen the museum from the outside. I've not been in it. It wasn't open when I was there. I would like to go back. The Flatwoods Monster is far more famous than I realized. I didn't realize how many pop culture and video game references he had until I started, researching for this game. He's been in video games before, actually.
Yeah, it's been like, isn't it he in Zelda, or did I dream that?
No, he's in Zelda.
Yeah, isn't it like something about? Yeah, it's like the in Majora's Mask, all of the aliens or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in more than one Japanese video game. Yeah, he's a very popular guy.
Yeah, I've read Zelda and Castlevania. Those are the two that I know about.
So that was one of my stops, of course, because I knew that was going to be in the game, and it was funny because I took a picture of one of the giant chairs. They've got all the giant chairs that look like him that are all throughout town that you can go make stops at.
Right,
and of the brown metal sign, and the brown metal sign is actually in the game.
Yeah, they took a lot. I think what happened was they had one of their like art leads or something took just a lot of photographs, and I think they transitioned.
They must have taken quite a few because some things are pretty generic. Flatwoods in general is generic, other than the signs. But some things like Charleston and Helvetia and Harper's Ferry are very close.
Yeah, I noticed the sign for Flatwoods is very. Is like the actual sign for Flatwoods.
It's the actual sign. So is it the one to Grafton and Morgantown?
Yeah, and even there's like a little. If you go to Charleston, there's a sign that's like I think it's an actual sign that's in I guess what we would call Kanawha City here in Charleston, that has the Charleston logo, and it's as it appears, but it has the little symbol with the capital and the two rivers coming together. That's like a logo for the city of Charleston that they put in the game, but it's been written over with a Raider logo, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is kind of cool. Oh, it's funny that you bring up Kanawha City though, because I've had to I've played the game with multiple people and had to help them pronounce things.
Yeah, what are some of the pronunciations you've run into of people wondering what it is?
People can't say Helvetia. They can't say Kanawha. They struggle with Philippi because they're torn between Philippi and Philippi. Even the game says it both ways. I think Kanawha is one of the most prominent that people have a hard time with.
That was even my problem because I live like right on the Kanawha River. And when I first moved here, I thought it was called Kanawha. I've been to Charleston when I was a kid or whatever, but actually when I moved into the town, I was like, is it Kanawha? What is it? And then I talked to people that I work with and they were like, oh no, it's Kanawha. I was like, what? You're missing a few letters there, but that's how everybody says it here is they all say Kanawha. And now it's just a part of my lingo as I go. But so you've run into Kanawha and Philippo.
Yep. I also have the problem of I'll be playing the game with people and I call everything by its real name and they don't know what I'm talking about. I always call the resort the Greenbrier and they never know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do too. Fortunately, most of the people that I play with, I know a lot of them, or they listen to the show, and so when I talk about the Greenbrier, they all just kind of understand and know. But I mean, I wouldn't just call it the Greenbrier if it didn't look exactly like the Greenbrier and the inside of it was laid out the exact same.
Yes, I've not been to the Greenbrier. I've only seen pictures, but I can tell on one of the people who went to the event there, he was freaking out when he was doing his YouTube video and he was showing like where he had walked through the Greenbrier beside of his game footage because he was just amazed at how accurate it was. He actually went and found the room he was sitting in at that moment.
Yes.
The door was locked, but he went and found it. So, and I've been in the asylum. It's fairly accurate on the inside. The penitentiary is fairly accurate on the inside.
I've noticed that just from watching, and I've talked about this before, watching Castle Rock and like the way that the cells look. So I haven't been to the actual Moundsville Penitentiary, but just like looking at the cells in the show, it's like, oh, that's where they filmed that scene. But the Greenbrier itself, I think the only thing, I mean, obviously they don't have the rooms on there, the hotel rooms, and they have some locked doors for some of the conference spaces that they have there in the game, and they don't have the casino, but all of that main lobby stuff, all of that stuff is all there. It's kind of crazy. It's wild. And obviously the resort, like land itself, is much bigger, and so like there's like I think there's actually there's just 3 golf courses, but then they have like tennis courts and all kinds of different stuff that are much larger than they are in the game.
And I wonder if they knew when they made it, if they knew how much it was just going to get nuked. It's nuked constantly.
That's very true. So take me back to your first experience with Fallout. Were you familiar with Fallout before Fallout 76? Did you play one of the other games? Tell me about your experience.
I played the original.
Oh.
I'll go all the way back to the original. It was a completely different type of game. It was more turn-based. Your AP points were about your ability to move and take actions. It was kind of like a strategy RPG.
Right, like a kind of Baldur's Gate kind of situation.
I loved it. I never did finish it before I ended up modding it, but didn't like the Brotherhood of Steel in it, and I've kind of had a bitter taste in my mouth for them ever since because I didn't really like them in there. But that's why in 4, when you're in the guy's brain and you see California, I had like nostalgia for that because I'm like, oh, that's where the first game was, I didn't get to play 2, but I did play 3. Then I missed New Vegas, and then I played 4. 4 is the only one I ever beat because I have this problem with open world games that if you let me go do whatever I want, that's what I'll do, and I'll forget that there's a story,
right?
And I'll just go around to whatever I want. But
that's like Breath of the Wild. You gotta go save the princess, and it's like there's this dire quest, but you're probably busy playing bowling or golf.
Yeah, I'm trying to shield ride down the side of the mountain without dying. But I did beat 4 because the story actually ended up getting interesting to me. Probably because the way it just started, where your spouse is killed and your baby stolen. But then when 3 came out, the internet was more prevalent. I really wanted a multiplayer, so I was thrilled that they made a multiplayer one. I know not everybody was, but I was thrilled. And I've so far I've been thrilled with it, being able to play it with other people.
It's one of the things that everybody has always asked for, especially with just not only Fallout, but just like their style and brand of RPGs is the availability to have it on a multiplayer platform. I think that when they even announced it, they said that people had always asked, and that's the number one thing that get asked is, does it have multiplayer? And they are essentially came out and they were like, we're going to try it, essentially. Spoken much better through Todd Howard, but that's what they said.
Well, they're still trying. I mean, I think that it's got potential. I think that they are making improvements.
Right.
I don't think it was as bad at launch as some people did.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
And we were warned anyway.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think about the reception and other people's opinions and stuff about that?
I'm noticing a trend. It's kind of in everything, but especially in the entertainment world right now.
Yeah, I've noticed
like
just
with video games,
just from having you as a friend on
popularity hate.
I've noticed just from having you as a friend on PlayStation that you've been playing Anthem, and so that's why I asked you that question in particular.
Oh yes. Anthem was a much bigger train wreck, to be honest. I feel like people have an irrational hate for things, and it's popular to hate something. Because a lot of the people I saw hating on 76, I could tell by what they were saying they never even played it. Right. And a lot of the things that were being said, like there's no story. Yes, there is. I can sit here and actually tell the story. There is a story. It's told differently, but there is a story. There are NPCs. There's no human ones, but you still get your holotapes. You still get to hear, the story. I just felt like there was people were looking for a reason not to like it, is what it felt like. Mm. And as far as, the bugginess, I want, if they're Bethesda fans, I don't know what they expected. I played Skyrim over the weekend. It's been updated out to how many times. I killed a frost spider. It got back up and treadmilled in place. And then I walked 2 steps and all the textures disappeared. I mean, that's a Bethesda game. I've never played one that wasn't buggy.
Yeah,
so
that's part for the course.
That's their whole thing. But I've never found their bugs to be anything but comical. Never anything too detrimental, usually comical. Not like where Anthem is crashing PlayStations.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah.
I gave it a try in the demo, and I liked what I played of it, but I don't have much of an opinion beyond that. But I do see a trend happening of these live games that come out where it's like, if there is a chink in the armor, or there are a lot of chinks in the armor, it will get paraded through the streets on fire in the mud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's becoming a very popular trend to just find reason to hate and to spread the hate. And some of the 76 hate has died down.
I think a lot of it has, other than it just being like, if it pops up in people's feeds or on Twitter or something and some random person sees it, they'll say a shitty comment and move on. Like it's just those people.
I've seen a lot of positive feedback since the roadmap got released.
Yeah, I think that's what people needed. I think that they needed to see what their plans were. Like what's their master plan with this? What are they trying to do? What does this game look like? Because that's half of the investment in the game is seeing what Bethesda not only does with the multiplayer Fallout, but what they do with the live game and how they incorporate all these new quests and activities.
Yeah, because the issue with a live game is you have to keep it alive. So many live games are actually dead.
Right.
So they've got to keep it alive. And so far, I think they're going to do that because it's not been out that long and we're getting new content. I've waited longer in a live game to get new content. So, and free content at that. A lot of games make you pay for content.
Yeah, that was one of the things that even just like getting reads off of them and talking to them, like that was one of their big pushes, is that all of these DLCs and updates, at least for what we know in the first year, they're all free. Like they're 100% free. Everything that they have planned, like even from release to now, everything is 100% free, which is really cool to not include that and keep all of their microtransactions behind a cosmetic paywall, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm okay with the cosmetics. I don't like anything that seems play to win or play for advantage.
Right.
So I'm okay with the cosmetics. Some things I wouldn't buy, but I have thought about getting the Mothman statue. I really like the Mothman statue.
Yeah, I liked all the Mothman stuff, and there was a few other things that I had gotten.
I have the billboards and the bed.
I think I got the sleeping bag because that came first, and I was like, okay, you put something Mothman on here, I'm most likely going to get it.
Yes, and now that they're incorporating an actual festival, I'm wondering how many other actual West Virginia events will get snuck in there, because there's plenty to sneak in.
Yeah, that's what are they going to do? See, here's my hope, and I was thinking about this today when we were about to record this episode, is like, we're going to talk about a festival that is happening in the game, but I was thinking about like what other festivals could they do that are specifically West Virginian. And then I got to thinking about Charleston and Huntington. Probably at the end of spring, they have their wiener dog races where they get a bunch of dachshund pups and they sell hot dogs and they make them go on a race. And so it's like, that's a very like local thing to do, is have these wiener dog races that I didn't know about until I moved here. I was like, well, if they add in dogs, I guess they could do like a wiener dog skin.
Well, and we know that they love Mothman, so he can have his festival as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that they'll do something big for Mothman Festival. I'm sure that there will be even like quests or events related to it, because they even went to that. You were at that too.
Yes, I was. And there is a igloo bunker at their version of the TNT site in game that looks exactly like the one I went on a tour of, and I want to know what's inside of it. I haven't been able to get in it.
Yeah, because they have like 9 of those bunkers, and we can only, I think, get in 2 of them right now. I want
to know what is in that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to work those into other updates or quests, or in my theory, it's like in my like conspiracy brain, it's like, or do they already have stuff out in the world that we haven't found yet? That maybe there's like some clue or some key or some code or something.
In real life, the igloos were filled with ammunition, and they were designed to where if they exploded, it would absorb the impact.
Right.
So maybe it's a huge weapon stash that someone can unlock. Maybe there's a Mothman in there. I don't know, but it's locked, and I want to know what's in it.
Well, I enjoy that. Well, so Fallout 76. So you've been playing Fallout 76. What's your character like? How, what are you doing with him? Is it a sneaky character? Is it a melee character? What's happening with your character?
I wanted to go sneaky rifle because that's what I tend to do. That's what I did in 3. That's what I did in 4.
Stealth archer.
Yeah, pretty much, because that's what I do in, Elder Scrolls. Yep. It doesn't feel very viable. I haven't been able to find strong enough rifles to make it very viable. I mean, I can do it in like the forest, but if I go to like the mire or the, cranberry bog, it don't work. So I've had to switch to melee as backup because melee is extremely overpowered in the game.
Right.
And
as it stands right now.
Yeah. The only problem with melee though is, trying to get the Scorch Beast to land so you can hit it, because they don't like to land. They want to just stay up there and drop their spores and scream at you. And
the method that I've found out just by looking at forums and different stuff is, so when the Scorch Beasts spawn, they have Scorch that are with them, and somebody on some forum had commented and be like, okay, what you have to do is you have to kill all of the Scorched, and then it will land. And it will land every time you kill all of the Scorched. And so every time I've done that, it's worked.
That's still not fun, because I was fighting one that summoned, I stopped counting when I got to 30 Scorched.
It was the extra.
It was one of the ones out in Watoga that's like level 65 or 70, and yeah, he just never stopped summoning.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the issue sometimes. So sometimes they keep on going. At least their sonic attacks have decreased in the timer of which they do that, which I haven't had much of a problem with that in particular, but I know other people have.
The only place that I have had any trouble is in the middle of the cranberry bog, because everywhere else, if you can find any amount of cover, you can avoid the sonic attack most of the time.
Right.
It's a little hard if you're in the middle of the open field.
And then you're running, and then you fall in a ditch. And then you're in a ditch, and you're like, how do I get out of here? And you can't jump out of it. Especially if you don't have marsupial, you can't jump out of it. Well, with that, Greg, we will move into our next segment. All right, Greg. So this week is starting the wild Appalachia season. I think as of just a few minutes ago, I had seen that they were pushing it back to March 13th. Which is actually the day that this releases. So it will be very timely, even though what we're talking about doesn't even happen until next week. But at least the season starts with all the new content. And that brings on, I think the first one is alcohol. And there are updates with building your own crafting station to make various kinds of alcohols. Looks like there's a lot of specialty stuff in there. And we had talked about that in the last episode. But the big event that I think people are very excited for is the seasonal event called the Fasnacht Parade, which, to give just a little overview, and I'll kind of let you chime in here with your own take on it, because you definitely have your own take on it, is essentially it is a Swiss heritage festival that happens in Helvetia, West Virginia, where each year they throw it to, I guess, at the end of the season of winter, and all wear various masks to celebrate the ending of winter and to bring in spring. Now, Greg, I brought you on the podcast today because you actually went to this festival. And so I kind of want to hear about that.
Well, after going to the festival, I know we have to have alcohol making in the game before the festival, because it goes hand in hand with the festival. The festival it didn't really have a set start time, and people just kind of start gathering in the late afternoon, early evening. The Hute, which is in the game, I think it's called Freya's house in the game.
Yeah, and I mispronounced it on the podcast, and you corrected me, because I did. I just called it the hut.
The hut. But it does mean the hut, so you were kind of right.
But it's the Hute.
The Hute.
See, now I'm getting cultured.
They were serving Swiss German food, and it was a big plate. I put a picture of it on Twitter. I think I sent it to you. It was a huge plate.
Yeah, I'll be like reposting some of your photos from your Twitter and retweeting it. And I think on Instagram I'll use repost and stuff so that our listeners can see the stuff that you posted. And it'll link to your profile, which is, I think, it's at VB Bobblehead, if I'm correct, right?
Instagram is VB Bobblehead. The other Twitter is Bobblehead VB, unless I just said that backwards. I kind of thought the sampler plate was really great. It had like a touch of Appalachia in it, because the potatoes weren't really German. They were kind of country, and the green beans were really kind of Appalachian country. But the kraut was definitely Swiss German. There was Helvetia Swiss cheese. There were 2 sausages, chicken that I'm not sure what was on it. I think it might have been turmeric, and a piece of pineapple, and this giant plate of all this food, and it was really good. It was really good.
So that's how you started your evening.
That's how you start, and then the dessert was homemade peach cobbler with homemade cream, not Cool Whip, like real whipped cream. Oh my gosh, it's just so, because I'm not a big fan of Cool Whip, but this real whipped cream, I could eat just that. They could just hold the cobbler, and I would eat just the whipped cream.
That sounds good.
But it was really good. And, you get to try new things.
So you said that they had Helvetian cheese, which I'm assuming that everything there, like their products are Helvetian. I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly.
They make cheese there in Helvetia.
Right.
And of course, it's Swiss cheese.
Uh-huh.
But they do make it there. The people, I assume it's the same people who run the honey house, also sell honey, and they sell like preserves and jams and jellies. Because the first time I went there, I got elderberry and currant, and they were both amazing. So this time I went back, found the currant, and didn't have any elderberry, so I got mulberry while I was there for Fasnacht.
How big is the bulk of honey that they sell? Because I'm thinking about maybe making some mead here. I kind of want, like, can I buy it in like the vat?
I don't know, because every time I go, the honey house and the cheese house are locked. So I have to go buy it from the Coulter House, which is the museum / post office / general store.
Okay.
Which is also in the game. It's the 2-story blue building. So that's where I buy stuff from the honey people. I do want to go back to the fair because there are events in the honey house and the cheese house at the fair, so I can finally get in them.
So you had your delicious meal. You sat down. You had your wurst and your cobbler, which I'll post pictures of those on. I'll retweet or what have you, so people can see them. They looked. I mean, it was like a plate full of food. It looked like
it wasn't a small plate either. It was a big plate.
Yes.
Do that. Go over to the Coulter House. See what they've got for sale. Look at the past mask, because that's also the museum. The store is. Got my currant jelly and my mulberry jelly. Got me some snacks while I was there because I didn't want to go hungry all night.
Everybody rolls in the late afternoon and it goes till like 1 a.m, right?
Oh, there's some people that weren't done at 1 a.m. So yeah, it goes through the night and it starts in the afternoon. So you're probably looking at 12 hours plus for some people. So you go across from the Coulter House, which is the big 2-story bluish building, and the Star Band Hall is there, which is also in the game. It's the double-doored building that has the circle of chairs with the instruments. Mm-hmm. Well, there really is a circle of chairs and instruments in there. That's where the band sits. And for a few hours, you sit in there, you socialize, people play music, some people dance. They sell snacks in there, but you have to get a ticket to get them. That's why I just got them at the general store. They also, that's where you buy your tickets for the masquerade ball. Mm-hmm. And I bought a ticket to sleep in the Star Band Hall, so I didn't have to leave. A lot of people aren't fit to leave by the time they're done with the festivities, so they have to have a place to stay. And I got that. I don't know if you saw the shirt. They had a really nice shirt, really nice artwork.
Wait, yeah, I think I saw that because I went to their Facebook page and I had looked, and they were selling them, and it looked like a really nice design. Did you pick one up?
Yeah, I wasn't going to get one because I usually don't wear long sleeve t-shirts, but I liked the art on it so much. I bought one. It was funny because I didn't have enough cash on me, but they were taking credit cards. But the guy was using the house across the street's Wi-Fi with permission, of course, but he's holding like his PayPal slider device up against the window, trying to get the Wi-Fi and run.
Right, because there's no cell service really much in the town.
And their internet is very poor. What internet they do have is very poor DSL. So, and there's no cell service. The Hute takes cash only because they don't fight it. The store does take a credit card though. I think they have one of the old dial-up card swipey machines.
Yes.
But yeah, if you want to be on your cell phone, I'm so sorry for you, but you won't be on your cell phone at Fasnacht at all. So this was probably, I think, the best part of the evening for me was the socialization and the music. I did get a clip of the whole hall singing Country Roads that I posted because, when you're in West Virginia and someone starts Country Roads, it's like mandatory that you participate.
It's more than the national anthem. It's like everybody has to sing along.
Yes, you have to participate. It's really not optional. Met some new people. That's where someone took a picture of me. A lot of people were recognizing what my mask was.
So tell me about your mask and just walk me through the idea that you had and how you made everything.
Well, the masks are usually paper mache, mm-hmm. and I wasn't sure what I wanted to make at first. And the friend that I went with, I was at her house because she had all the newspaper and the glue and the bowls and everything. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to make. And she's like, well, here, you just take this bowl, put cellophane on upside down and make yourself just a round mask. And then you can decide as you go. And so I'm making it and I'm deciding. And I'm like, well, I want to go something West Virginia. I'd like to tie it in with the video game since it's going to go on the Vault Boys Twitter page. So
Right.
I thought about it and I'm like, oh, I'll just do a simple Mothman because the Mothman in the game is not overly complex.
Right.
In the face
Mothman's
area anyway.
not that crazy.
Yeah. So
I mean, Mothman is crazy, but not the design of him is very simple.
Very, very simple. So I went with a Mothman mask. The only downside to the Mothman mask was I had red cellophane for the bug eyes, and when I went outside for the parade, it was dark and it was like looking through red sunglasses. Then it was raining, so they got wet. And then because of the temperature change, they fogged up and I couldn't see anything.
You had Mothman vision.
I had Mothman vision. So we were carrying our lanterns during the parade, and I had one in my left arm on a pole, and my friend had one on her right arm in a pole. And I'm deciding where to walk based on where these two lights are. Mm-hmm. And we get about halfway through the parade, and hers goes out. Then I'm kind of walking blind. And she's promising to help me, but she's having a lot of fun.
You've been classified as a blind Mothman, not a wise or
no
stalking.
Blind Mothman. Blind Mothman. So at the Starband Hall, that's where everybody starts getting their masks. Mm-hmm. There were some really good masks. I mean, people spent some time and money on these things. Really intricate masks.
Any particular designs or anything in particular?
Nothing. Well, I take that back. Admiral Akbar was one of them.
Admiral Akbar, yes.
Yeah, he was one of them. Yeah. So then they give you lanterns, and you march from Starband Hall down the road towards the restaurant, and then you make a right and go to this, I guess it's like a civic hall. The dance hall, whatever. It's in the game too, except I think it's offices in the game, but it's the building. It's in the same direction. And that's where the parade is. I got a picture of me in the parade. There's actually a lot of people in the parade, and everyone who's not in the parade is watching the parade. There's actually quite a few people here. And the whole time we learned when we got there, the New York Times was actually there taking pictures of this. I don't know how the New York Times got wind of this little festival in West Virginia, but they did.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there was a guy taking pictures of the parade from the New York Times, and so you go in to the ballroom, and there's a big, oh my gosh, he was huge, like 10 foot maybe, or taller, Old Man Winter effigy, who's basically wire and paper mache himself. Very nice artwork.
I saw a picture of that. It looked really cool, like just the design of him.
Really nice. And all the people in masks walk circles around him. I'm guessing that is from some tradition, traditional reason, but they also use that as an opportunity to do the judging while you're walking around. And the best masks get a Swiss flag. Everybody parades around Old Man Winter. They hand out the flags. Then the dancing starts. And it is very Appalachian, if you understand my meaning. There's a lot of shuffling and stomping and
flat footing. Yes.
Yes.
There used to be in Floyd County, Virginia. There's a place called the the name escapes me. I want to call it the Company Store, but I know that's not what it is. Where they would play bluegrass music almost every Thursday night. I know they would do it every single Thursday night, but oftentimes they would have like professional musicians come in on Fridays and Saturdays. But on Thursdays, they would always have a group that would be playing, and it was like you did square dancing, flat footing, all kinds of different stuff.
That's the type of dancing that was going on. Mm-hmm. And some people donated their masks. There was a place to put them if you wanted to donate to the museum. Mine was not museum worthy compared to some of the ones there. I brought mine back, but
well, it's a memento.
I wanted to keep it. It's my first one.
Yeah.
And then downstairs, a restaurant was, you had to pay them, of course, but they were catering German Swiss food. And I had a German gyro, because apparently there is such a thing, because the explanation is that the Turkish introduced them to it, and then the Germans put their own style on it, and it's now very popular in Germany. The only problem was it said what vegetables came on it, and I thought, oh, these will be raw vegetables. It's a sandwich. Well, they were all raw but the cabbage. The cabbage was pickled, and I don't like pickled cabbage.
I could do. I think I told you this, but I can do anything pickled. That's one of the few German traditions that came with my wife's family. Is every it started from I think her dad's grandfather, so her great grandfather would pickle fish every New Year, and then you would always eat the pickled fish on New Year's. So we're a fan of the pickled things.
The pickled things.
Yes.
Then they light the big bonfire, huge bonfire. While the dance is still going on, people start making their way to the bonfire. By this time, a lot of people have had plenty of libation.
That's a good way to put it.
Especially the college-age people. Very, very in the spirit. So they gather, and then at midnight, they wrap up the dance, and they carry him out. People carry him out kind of like you would carry a person on their back out of the building, and they throw him on the fire, to signify the death of winter. And being paper mache, he doesn't last very long at all.
Right.
It's just I thought, man, it's all that effort to make such a nice effigy just to throw it on a fire.
Well, there's something kind of Eastern about that, like how like they make mandalas out of sand and they make this like beautiful, intricate artwork, and then they just like blow it away.
Well, they blow it away. Yeah, a lot of people start to filter out after that, but some people go to houses and have additional parties, and so some people's festivities continue throughout the night, but the official festivities end with the death of Old Man Winter. But anyone who's ever in the area in March, because it's timed in accordance with Lent. That's how they determine the Saturday they're going to do it.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you have the opportunity, I would go at least once. You may like it, you may not, but at least you'll have had the experience. Just to go once. Of course, it is. It's March in West Virginia, so yeah, it could be sunshine and 70 degrees. It could be 3 feet of snow. Who knows?
Right. That was my one concern was the snow, but it ended up not snowing, and then by a process of looking at events and seeing what we had time for, it just didn't work out. It's a little bit of a drive. It ended up being about 3 hours from where we live.
It is a little bit of a drive. If you ever decide to go, I don't know what direction you're going to want to go from. If you're in Flatwoods, there's probably a way to get some back way to get to it from Braxton County, but I recommend going from the north. People go either through Elkins and Mill Creek or through Buchanan. The Buchanan way is much nicer, and if you're coming from the west, much closer. And I think much easier. It's almost a direct path. You go straight through Buchanan until you get to the Wildlife Center, and then you make a left and you stay on that road.
So we've got this event coming up in the game that I'm sure that you've read stuff about, and I'm sure our listeners have kind of really, I guess, the first test of what events look like in Fallout 76. So what do you hope carries over and translates into the game from you going to the real life festival?
I think, and I think they're going to have it. They definitely have to have the mask. There's got to be a variety of masks. You have to have the ability to wear a mask. There has to be a mask parade. That's like one of the crucial parts of the event. And of course, you have to burn Old Man Winter, which I did see that they're going to, the effigy in one of the stills.
Right.
So I'm sure that they're going to keep that all in there, which those are the two main big things. I hope that they would have some other things maybe for you to do. Maybe because I know it's going to be ran by Protectorons. Maybe they can have, food, libations, stuff for you to do. Maybe music.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll add in vendors into the the slew of like filling up the houses and utilizing, those really nicely designed areas in the game.
I hope so, because they made so many models for that town. The Starband Hall has its own model in the game. The Cheese House, the Honey House, the library, the museum, the Coulter House, the Hute, they all have their own models. They just for Helvetia, they're nowhere else in the game. So they put a lot of work into Helvetia in that game. So hopefully they get their use out of it.
I think that this will be the time to really their test of seeing how they can revitalize an area within the game to create an event out of it. While people are in the game experiencing this Fasnacht parade and event, what would you say that maybe their mindset should be, or some sort of feeling? Like, what did you feel when you were at Fasnacht? Like, did you have anything emotionally that came out from that event, or something tied to that event that you think is important to feel even in a digital version of the festival itself?
Yeah, you just must be having a lot of fun, a lot of joy. I love letting go. It's the end of a season. It's a new season. It's like a new start. And they time it with Lent, which for a lot of people is a special time as well. So I think that it's about a fresh start. It's about hope, because you want winter to go, you want spring to come. But I think hopefully people will at least have some fun and joy out of it, because it is a pretty lively event. It's a lot for such a little town to pull off. I mean, there was a lot of people there, so and you get an energy when there's that many people there.
I think it's kind of nice that they're coming off. Bethesda is both coming off of kind of this rocky start and starting their new season with an event that's about new beginnings. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like they're finally getting this roadmap. They're getting all their stuff together, and we're gonna burn the effigy of bugs past and versions past to start a new adventure, I suppose.
Well, I think it really is a new start for them, because up till this point, everything that they've released has been fixes and tweaks, and this is the first real new thing we're getting.
Well, Greg, I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast and talking about your time at the festival, your experience that you've had taking these pictures in West Virginia. So where can people find your previous work and your continuing work of taking these photos and sharing some fun with other people?
On Twitter, it is at BobbleheadVB, and it's VB Bobblehead on Instagram. Some pictures, only the good ones, everything is on Twitter. Yeah, if you can get to Twitter, you'll also get to see the personification every once in a while. And I'm going to continue. I had a bit of a break because of winter. The weather was...
It's hard to get out.
Yeah, it was mostly like muddy and wet all winter. And so Helvetia was the first time I got pictures in months. But I do have plans. There's a lot of places I want to try to hit up once the weather gets better. I'm going to the Eastern Panhandle. I want to go to Berkeley Springs and Harper's Ferry.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try to get to the Greenbrier and the Lost World Caverns. I want to go to the Cranberry Bog.
I would say try that in the fall. That you would have a better
when it's red.
Time. Yes,
and while I'm down there, I'll probably go to Watauga State Park, because they're not that far apart.
No, they're pretty close to each other.
But yeah, there's a few places that I have never been myself that are in the game, that I want to see, plus get a picture. So sadly, I have been to Berkeley Springs since the game was announced and didn't know it was going to be in the game, or I would have took the bobblehead with me.
Well, Greg, thank you again for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and talking. But for today, that's it. Don't forget to email us your questions at vaultboyswv@gmail.com. Check us out on social media at VaultBoysPod, and tell your friends. The best way to support the show is a rate and review on iTunes, which we are always grateful for. Just remember, from holler to highway, we've got you covered 6 ways to Sunday.